I want every conservative grifter to know that while there is a literacy crisis, this bitch and many bitches in the room can read. And also call me Pepperidge Farms, because I do remember. There is no reality where y'all are going to do this 180 and pretend that you weren't anti-immigration, anti-dolls, anti-everything on some pro-fascism shit. And I forget, okay? Memory long, and so is my attitude. Absolutely not. The Nara Smiths of the world, these conservative podcasters who are now turning tail. I remember, okay? There is documentation, and the internet is forever.
First off, loved this video. Second, I want to take my response in two different directions, so hang in there with me. We absolutely need to be preparing for the time to come, and there must be justice and accountability in that time. I loved this perspective of having a long memory, not forgetting, because in the not too distant future, we're going to see influencers, corporations, businesses, those in power, politicians, educational institutions, Columbia University, who are going to try and sound like they were never down with fascism. They want you to forget that they were on board with everything that Trump was doing, or they were perfectly content to let him do what he's doing because they were profiting from the current dynamics that exist, from all of the grift, graft, and corruption, that they were getting rich during this period in time when we were all suffering. In the not too distant future, when it is no longer profitable for these folks to be aligned with fascism, they will get aligned with whatever is profitable in the time to come. And that will be trying to make it seem like they were never down with any of this. In the not too distant future, everybody will act like they were always opposed to what is happening now. And I think it's important for us to remember there's a huge difference between, like, I used to be on board with all of this awfulness, or I got hoodwinked by MAGA and I have since deconstructed and I am working to repair the harm that I helped perpetuate and that I supported. That's a whole thing, right? I think we need space for deconstructing Trump supporters. I think we will need to be able to understand that people will come out from under all of the ideology that they were down with right now. And I think that's well and good. I'm talking about corporations, I'm talking about businesses, I'm talking about influencers, I'm talking about those who have profited from this period in our history and all of the suffering that we are experiencing. We need a long memory for those folks. And there is no forgiveness without changed behavior. There is no forgiveness without them making recompense. And all of these corporations are hoping that you will forget and you'll just move on to the next thing. That they can launch a new ad campaign that makes it sound like they were never down with skinny is in, and they're once again embracing body diversity and body positivity. They can start to change their messaging and put out an ad campaign that is hoping to regain your brand loyalty. But guess what, Target? We've been boycotting since February of 2025 and we're never going back. Guess what, Home Depot? We know that you let ICE agents chase your customers through their stores, tackle them to the ground, and drag them off into concentration camps. We know that you are pro-ethnic cleansing in this country, and we are not going to forget it. Okay, now I want to pivot and take it in a little bit different direction, because you may have seen over the last week that Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson and probably Candace Owens and also Thomas Massie and other former MAGA, former diehard Trump supporters have all decided to flee like rats fleeing a sinking ship. They know that MAGA is a dying cult. They know that Donald Trump is a demented 80-year-old and his influence is waning and that his days in power are coming to an end. And they were looking to pivot and move on to the next thing in conservative politics. And I want us to all be aware of what's happening, because while these folks are openly speaking out against MAGA, openly speaking out against Trump, we need to remember that not everybody who is leaving the cult is moving into a position, embracing a position of reform, of restitution, of trying to create a better America. They're just moving to the next grift. That creator that I stitched at the beginning, she said she would never forget what the grifters have done right now. Please understand who is a grifter now will be a grifter in the future. And however their rebrand looks, whether they're trying to go from MAGA grifter to like, now I'm suddenly woke and I never was MAGA, whether they're Nara Smith saying, I was never a trad wife, I never benefited from selling, subjugation to my largely young female audience, whatever their line is, however they're trying to rebrand and pivot, You have to understand that at the end of the day, these folks don't change their stripes, right? Without changed behavior, there should be no forgiveness. There should definitely be no trust. And I am a lot bit concerned about this new movement, right? Like, we need to be aware of what is coming next. As MAGA is declining, there will be a new alt-right movement in this country. Now, Nick Fuentes is hoping that it's going to be like the Groypers, right? They're hoping that the incel hard right guys are going to take over. I think we should have our eyes on them, but I also think we should really have our eyes on Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene, because they are trying to recapture their political careers. Tucker Carlson wants to be president. And as we're looking at these meetings that they're having, these dinners that they're having, how they're all getting cozy, how they're being more bold and outspoken against Trump, I think that's a good thing in one respect, in that any fracture in the MAGA coalition and the Republican coalition, any way that we can divide them, or they can on their own divide themselves, I think that's a good thing, because it dilutes their power in some respect. But what they're hoping to do is they're hoping to capture all of those MAGA who are leaving. But when people leave the cult of MAGA, they're not suddenly becoming woke, you guys. They're not suddenly becoming leftists. Overwhelmingly, few people go through that deconstruction process radically, but overwhelmingly it takes years and years and years of slowly peeling back the layers. So people get pissed off at Donald Trump and they start to speak out against him. It doesn't mean that they're suddenly pro reproductive health care. It doesn't mean that they suddenly are going to be for our immigrants and wanting to protect them. It doesn't mean that they want to abolish ICE. It doesn't mean that they want to end all of the corporate corruption that's happening. It just means they're opposed to Donald Trump. And they're no longer on board because he failed to deliver on his promises, and he's making their lives worse by wrecking the economy, what have you. But they're still probably socially very conservative. They're still probably ideologically very conservative, and maybe not really, in any way objecting to an authoritarian government. They just don't want Donald Trump anymore. They're not wanting to have real progress in the way that we are. So I think we need to be on the alert for the way that these folks. Tucker Carlson is hoping there will be a mass exodus and they will jump on to, his new little bandwagon and join him. But please be aware that just because Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think we all are aware, but like maybe your friends and family, right, should be aware that just because these guys are speaking out against Donald Trump, they are politically maneuvering themselves to take over the conservative faction of politics in this country. They are hoping that as the establishment Republicans who have bent the knee, slobbered all over the knob of Donald Trump, who have glued their lips to Donald Trump's ass, as they all go down with him, they are hoping to capture that voter base for their new right-wing movement. And we should be aware. We should be aware. We should be wary. We should go into the coming days, weeks, months, years with our eyes wide open. Ask yourself who benefits from rebranding, who benefits from pretending like they were never down with all of this, who benefits from leaving MAGA right now. What are their motivations? What are their motivations, and what are they seeking to gain control over? Your attention, your political support, your dollars. What is it that they're after? Grifters be grifting, y'all. They're able to change their message. They're able to switch it up. They're able to try and play in to your short memory. So it's up to us to make sure that we don't forget. We don't forget.